Good morning everyone. Basa na ng Bible guys. Luke chapter 7 verse 1 to 30. Pang April 2 na natin to ha. Advance na tayo. And Judges ng chapter 16, 17, and 18. Dito na muna tayo sa Luke. Kasi nandito na ako. A Roman officer demonstrates faith. When Jesus had finished saying all this in the hearing of the people, he entered Capernaum. There a centurion's servant, whom his master valued highly, was sick and about to die. The centurion heard of Jesus and sent some elders of the Jews to him, asking him to come and heal his servant. When they came to Jesus, they pleaded earnestly with him, "This man deserves to have you do this, because he loves our nation and has built our synagogue." So Jesus went with them. He was not far from the house when the centurion sent priests to say to him, "Lord, don't trouble yourself, for I do not deserve to have you come under my roof. That is why I did not even consider myself worthy to come to you. But say the word, and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority, with soldiers under me. I tell this one, go, and he goes, and that one, come, and he comes. I say to my servant, do this, and he does it." When Jesus heard this, he was amazed at him, and turning to the crowd following him, he said, "I tell you, I have not found such great faith even in Israel." Then the men who had been sent returned to the house and found the servant well. Jesus raises a widow's son from the dead. Soon afterward, Jesus went to a town called Nain, N-A-I-N, and his disciples and a large crowd went along with him. As he approached the town gate, a dead person was being carried out, the only son of his mother, as she was a widow, and a large crowd from the town was with her. When the Lord saw her, his heart went out to her, and he said, "Don't cry." Then he went up and touched the coffin. Nasa kabaong na guys, oh. And those carrying it stood still. He said, "Young man, I say to you, get up." The dead man sat up and began to talk, and Jesus gave him back to his mother. Biro mo, nasa coffin na. Tapos, pinapatayo pa niya. They were all filled with awe and praised God. "A great prophet has appeared among us," they said. "God has come to help his people." This news about Jesus spread throughout Judea and the surrounding country. Kung ano naman pagkapatayin na nabuhay mo pa talagang kakalat yung balita na yun. Jesus is John Dawes. John's disciples told him about all these things. Calling two of them, he sent them to the Lord to ask, "Are you the one who was to come, or should we expect someone else?" When the men came to Jesus, they said, "John the Baptist sent us to you to ask, are you the one who was to come, or should we expect someone else?" At that very time, Jesus cured many who had diseases, sicknesses, and evil spirits, and gave sight to many who were blind. So he replied to the messengers, "Go back and report to John what you have seen and heard." So si Jesus noong araw, higit pa sa doktor. Lahat nagpapagaling niya. The blind receive sight, the lame walk, those who have leprosy are cured, the deaf hear, the dead are raised. Doon talaga ako na-amaze sa guys, oh. Patay na nabuhay pa. And the good news is preached to the poor. Blessed is the man who does not fall away on account of me. After John's messenger left, Jesus began to speak to the crowd about John. "What did you go out into the desert to see a reed swayed by the wind? If not, what did you go out to see? A man dressed in fine clothes. A man dressed in fine clothes. No, those who wear expensive clothes and indulge in luxury are in palaces. But what did you go out to see? A prophet? Yes, I tell you, I'm more than a prophet. Oh, more than a prophet, though. This is the one about whom it is written, I will send my messenger ahead of you, who will prepare your way before you. I tell you, among those born of women, there is no one greater than John, yet the one who is least the kingdom of God is greater than he. All the people, even the tax collectors, when they heard Jesus' words, acknowledged that God's way was right, because they had been baptized by John. But the Pharisees, an expert in the law, rejected God's purpose for themselves because they had not been baptized by John. So hanggang 30 lang muna tayo. Luke 7 to 1:30. Lipat na tayo sa Judges, guys. Wala akong pantanda. So, nung araw, paano hindi naghilig yung mga Pharisees? Kasi nga, nauungusan sila ni Jesus Christ. Kasi si Jesus lahat napapagaling niya. Kasi doon sa di ba doon sa ni Moses, yung mga Levites, mga pare, mag-o-offer ka pa ng ng mga animal bago ka gagaling. Kay Jesus, direct na. Pero kasi prayer lang talaga ang makakapagpagaling sa iyo. Wala nang iba. Pero syempre sa panahon natin ngayon, may doktor tayo. Diba? So, 16, 17, 18, tama ba? Judges tayo. Makakalimutin kasi talaga ako. Pasensya na. 16, 17, and 18. Judges. Tatlong chapter lagi binabasa natin dito sa Old Testament. 16. Ang haba pa naman, guys. And 18. Bali, ilang pages yan. Sobrang nipis talaga nitong no? 16, 17, and 18. Nahirapan ako maglipat-lipat ng pages kasi sobrang nipis. Pang April 2, 2021. Hindi na nga itong papakinawang ng susunod na babasa eh. Kasi sobrang na. Sa araw-araw na natin hinahawakan, nagugusot na siya. Tapos marami nang nalalagas doon sa ilalim. Samson and Delilah. Sa chapter 16 na, guys. One day, Samson went to Gaza, where he saw a prostitute. He went in to spend the night with her. The people of Gaza were told. So, nung araw, mula pa sa kanunuan natin, marami ng prostitute. Yung yung nagtago din sa mga spy ng nila Joshua. Prostitute din yun. So, napakaraming prostitute nung araw. Pero masyadong kinukunti na nila yung ba yun? Yung sabi babatuhin kung sino yung walang kasalanan. Yun ang unang bumato. Masyado nilang dinadown pagka-prostitute. One day, kaya nung sinabi ni Jesus na Kung sino yung walang kasalanan, siya unang bumato. Walang nagbato kasi lahat makasalanan. Diba? One day, Samson went to Gaza, where he saw a prostitute. He went in to spend the night with her. The people of Gaza were told, Samson is here, so they surrounded the place and lay in wait for him all night on the city gate. They made no move during the night, saying, At dawn we'll kill him. But Samson lay there only until the middle of the night. Then he got up and took hold of the doors of the city gate together with the two posts, and tore them loose, bar and all. He lifted them to his shoulders and carried them to the top of the hill that faces Hebron. Some time later he fell in love with a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. So, si Delilah, tiga Sorek, in the valley of Sorek. The rulers of the Philistines went to her and said, See if you can lure him into showing you the secret of his great strength and how we can overpower him so we may tie him and subdue him. Each one of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver. So si Delilah parang si Judas Iscariot. yung nag-betray kay Jesus. So Delilah said to Samson, Tell me the secret of your great strength and how you can be tied up and subdued. Samson answered her, If anyone ties me with 7 fresh stones that have not been dried, I'll become as weak as any other man. Oh. Then the rulers of the Philistines brought her 7 fresh stones that had not been dried, and she tied him with them. When men headed in the room, she called to him, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. But he snapped the nose as easily as a piece of string snaps when it comes close to a flame. So the secret of his strength was not discovered. Naisahan. Then Delilah said to Samson, You have made me a fool. You have made a fool of me. You lied to me. Come now, tell me how you can be tied. He said, If anyone ties me securely with new ropes that have never been used, I'll become as weak as any other man. So Delilah took new ropes and tied him with them. Then, when men headed in the room, she called to him, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. But he snapped the ropes to his arms as if they were threads. Nakakatuwa yung story. Yung story ni Samson. Parang inaano lang sila ni Samson. Parang pinaglalaroan lang sila ni Samson. Delilah then said to Samson, Until now you have been making a fool of me and lying to me. Tell me how you can be tied. He replied, If you weave the 7 braids of my head into the fabric on the loom and lighten it with the pin, I'll become as weak as any other man. So while he was sleeping, Delilah took the 7 braids of his head, wove them into the fabric, and tightened it with the pin. Again she called to him, Samson, the Philistines are upon you. He woke from his sleep and pulled up the pin and the loom with the fabric. Then she said to him, How can you say I love you when you won't confide in me? This is the 3rd time you have made a fool of me and haven't told me the secret of your great strength. With such nagging, she prodded him day after day until he was tired to death. So he told her everything. No razor has ever been used on my head, he said, because I have been a Nazarite. Oh, yung Nazarite nga guys. Hindi ko pa ito na-google. Pa-google nga muna ng Nazarite. Kasi inaano ko kung pareho siya ng Nazarene at saka Nazarite. kung magkapareho ba. Google muna natin sandali. Nazarite. Nazarite. Oh, an Israelite who was consecrated to the service of God under vows to abstain. An Israelite who was consecrated to the service of God under vows to abstain from alcohol. Let the hair grow and avoid defilement by contact with dead bodies. Oh, tapos, anuhin ko yung Nazarene, ha? Kung anong pagkakaiba. Nazarene. So, yung Nazarite, walang ano-ano yun. Walang photo-photo yun. Tsaka hindi sila umano sa patay. Dead bodies. A native or resident of Nazareth. Pag Nazarene ka, tiga Nazareth ka. Christian since 1A, a member of the Church of the Nazarene, that is a Protestant denomination deriving from the merging of three holiness groups, stressing sanctification and following Methodist polity. Oh. Pag Nazarene, tiga Nazareth. So, kaya hindi tumigil hanggat hindi tinignan sa ano eh. Dito na tayo sa verse 17. So he told her everything. No razor has ever been used on my head, he said, because I have been a Nazarite, set apart to God since birth. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as any other man. When Delilah saw that he had told her everything, she sent word to the rulers of the Philistines, "Come back once more, he has told me everything." So the rulers of the Philistines returned with the silver in their hands, having put him to sleep. Pero mo no, asawa mo, tapos i-betrayed mo dahil lang sa ilang silver yun. Parang hindi ka ba binibigyan ng silver ng asawa mo para ipagkanulo mo siya sa ano. So, the rulers of the Philistines returned with the silver in their hands, having put him to sleep on her lap. She called a man to shave off the 7 braids of his hair, and so began to subdue him, and his strength left him. Then she called Samson, "The Philistines are upon you." He woke from his sleep and thought, "I'll go out as before and shake myself free." But he did not know that the Lord had left him. Then the Philistines let him gouge out his eyes and took him down to Gaza. Binding him with bronze shackles, they set him to grinding in the prison. But the hair on his head began to grow again after it had been shaved. The death of Samson. Now the rulers of the Philistines assembled to offer great sacrifice to Dagon, their god, and to celebrate, saying, "Our God has delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hands." So, nung araw na kung sino yung god nila, iba yung god ng Philistines kaysa god ng Israel. Ganon din sa Egypt, guys. So, kung ano, sino na lang talaga ang... Kaya hindi mo talaga malaman kung sino yung totoong God. Basta ako, kung sino yung sa start, doon ako. When the people, yung gumawa ng heaven and earth and everything in it. Yun talaga ang tunay na God. When the people saw him, they praised their God, saying, "Our God has delivered our enemy into our hands, and one who laid waste our land and multiplied our slain." While they were in high spirits, they shouted, "Bring out Samson to entertain us." So they called Samson out of the prison, and he performed for them. When they stood him among the pillars, Samson said to the servant who held his hand, "Put me where I can feel the pillars that support the temple, so that I may lean against them." Now the temple was crowded with men and women. All the rulers of the Philistines were there, and on the roof were about 3,000 men. and women watching Samson perform. Then Samson prayed to the Lord, O sovereign Lord, remember me. O God, please strengthen me. Yung prayer ni Samson, guys, sa verse 28. Kuhanin natin ito mamaya as description. Verse 28 ng 16. Then Samson prayed to the Lord, O sovereign Lord, remember me. O God, please strengthen me just once more, and let me with one blow get revenge on these Philistines for my two eyes. Then Samson reached toward the two central pillars on which the temple stood, bracing himself against them, his right hand on the one and his left hand on the other. Samson said, Let me die with the Philistines. Then he pushed with all his might. Oh, kaya kasama rin siya. Kumbaga, ano to guys? Ano ba tawag sa ano? Suicide. Yung kasala rin siya sa namatay. Ano ba tawag kay Samson? Yung, kasi sabi niya, let me die with the Philistines. Then he pushed. Kumbaga sa ano guys? Ay, ang hirap ipaliwanag. Bahala na kayo mag-intindi. Then he pushed with all his might, and down came the temple on the rollers and all the people in it. Thus he killed many more when he died than while he lived. Then his brothers and his father's whole family went down to get him. They brought him back and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol, 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 in the tomb of Manoah, his father. He had led Israel 20 years. Idolatry in the tribe of Dan. Teka, basahin niyo yung pinaka-headers na the moral failure of Israel. Basahin ko lang yung bago tayo pumunta sa chapter 17. Nakalagay siya. The section shows Israel falling into idolatry, moral decline, and petty fighting. Israel, the nation that was to set the example of spiritual living, and it had instead become morally depraved. When Israel did serve God, and that was seldom, it was often from selfish motives. Selfish obedience does not bring us far. Genuine obedience is motivated by a love and reverence for God Himself. Yun. Kaya wala talagang, huwag na talaga magsamba sa ibang Diyos. Idolatry in the tribe of Dan. Micah's idols. Now, a man named Micah from the hill country of Ephraim said to his mother, The 1,100 shekels of silver that were taken from you, and about which I heard you utter a curse, I have that silver with me, I took it. Then his mother said, The Lord bless you, my son. When he returned the 1,100 shekels of silver to his mother, she said, I solemnly consecrate my silver to the Lord for my son to make a carved image and cast idol. I will give it back to you. So he returned the silver of his mother, and she took 200 shekels of silver and gave them to a silversmith, who made them into the image and the idol. And they were put in Micah's house. Now this man Micah had a shrine, and he made an ephod and some idols, and installed one of his sons as his priest. In those days Israel had no king. Everyone did as he saw fit. A young Levite from Bethlehem in Judah, who had been living within the clan of Judah, left the town in search of some other place to stay. On his way, he came to Micah's house in the hill country of Ephraim. Micah asked him, Where are you from? I am a Levite from Bethlehem in Judah, he said, and I am looking for a place to stay. Then Micah said to him, "Live with me and be my father and priest, and I'll give you 10 shekels of silver a year. 10 shekels of silver a year." Sa loob ng isang taon, 10 silver lang ang sweldo. Ay, hindi naman sweldo, ibibigay lang. Pero parang ganun na rin yun kasi parang 10 shekels of silver a year, your clothes and your food. Inom muna tayo guys at nanayo na lalamunan ko. So the Levite agreed to live with him, and the young man was to him like one of his sons. Then Micah installed the Levite and the young man because his priest and lived in his house. And Micah said, "Now I know that the Lord will be good to me, since the Levite has become my priest." The night settled in Laish. In those days Israel had no king, and in those days the tribe of Danites was seeking place for of their own where they might settle, because they had not yet come into an inheritance among the tribes of Israel. So the Danites sent 5 warriors from Sural and Eshtaol to spy out the land and explore it. Tingnan mo guys, sabi ko sa inyo yung battle o giyera ng araw nang dahil sa lupa talaga. To spy out the land and explore it, these men represented all their clans. They told them, "Go explore the land." The men entered the hill country of Ephraim and came to the house of Micah, where they spent the night. When they were near Micah's house, they recognized the voice of the young Levite. So they turned in there and asked him, "Who brought you here? What are you doing in this place? Why are you here?" He told them what Micah had done for him and said, "He has hired me and I am his priest." Then they said to him, "Please inquire of God to learn whether our journey will be successful." The priest answered him, "Go in peace, your journey has the Lord's approval." So the 5 men left and came to Laish, where they saw that the people were living in safety, like the Sidonians, unsuspecting and secure. And since their land lacked nothing, they were prosperous. Also, they lived a long way from the Sidonians and had no relationship with anyone else. When they returned to Surah and Eshtaol, their brothers asked them, "How did you find things?" They answered, come on, let's attack them. We have seen that the land is very good." Tingnan mo lang guys, no? Pambihira talaga. Kaya ayoko talaga ng giyera nang dahil lang sa lupa. Nang dahil sa lupa, ang gulo-gulo nung panahon nila. Aren't you going to something? Don't hesitate to go there and take it over. Aren't you going to do something? Don't hesitate to go there and take it over. Basta-basta nyo na lang kukunin. Grabe naman. When you get there, you will find an unsuspecting people and a spacious land that God has put into your hands, a land that lacks nothing whatever. The 600 men from the clan of the Danites, armed for battle, set out from Zorah and Eshtaol. On their way, they set up camp near Kiriath Jearim in Judah. This is why the place west of Kiriath Jearim is called Mahanidan to this day. From there, they went on to the hill country of Ephraim and came to Micah's house. Then the 5 men who had spied out the land of Laish said to their brothers, "Do you know that one of these houses has an ephod, other household gods, a carved image and cast idol? Now you know what to do." So they turned in there and went to the house of the young Levite at Micah's place and greeted him. The 600 Danites, armed for battle, stood at the entrance to the gate. The 5 men who had spied out the land went inside and took the carved image, the ephod, the other household gods, and the cast idol, while the priest and the 600 armed men stood at the entrance to the gate. Sa verse 18 na tayo. When these men went into Micah's house and took the carved image, the ephod, the other household gods, and the cast idol, the priest said to them, "What are you doing?" They answered him, "Be quiet, don't say a word. Come with us and be our father and priest." Isn't it better that you served a tribe and a clan in Israel as priest rather than just one man's household? Then the priest was glad. He took the ephod, the other household gods, and the carved image, and went along with the people, putting their children, putting their little children, their livestock, and their possessions in front of them. They turned away and left. When they had gone some distance from Micah's house, the men who lived near Micah were called together and overtook the Danites. As they shouted after them, the Danites turned and said to Micah, "What's the matter with you that you called out your men to fight?" He replied, "You took the gods I made and my priest and went away. What else do I have? How can you ask what's the matter with you?" Oo nga naman. Kawawa naman si Micah. The Danites answered, "Don't argue with us, or some hot-tempered men will attack you, and you and your family will lose your lives." So the Danites went their way, and Micah, seeing that they were too strong for him, turned around and went back home. At least hindi siya ginalaw. Then they took that what Micah had made and his priest and went on to Laish against a peaceful and suspecting people. They attacked them with a sword and burned down their city. There was no one to rescue them because they lived a long way from Sidon and had no relationship with anyone else. The city was in a valley near Beth Rehob. The Danites rebuilt the city and settled there. They named it Dan after their forefather Dan, who was born to Israel. Yep, anak to ni Jacob eh. Though the city used to be called Laish, the Danites set up for themselves the idols and Jonathan, son of Gershom, the son of Moses. Oh, ilan kaya anak ni Moses, no? And his sons were priests for the tribe of Dan until the time of the captivity of the land. They continued to use the idols Micah had made all the time the house of God was in Shiloh. Okay guys, bye everyone, God bless.